Would I work with him again? No.
I did a film with an absolute idiot of a co-star.
What was great about Deadpool is they covered up his handsome face because he's so distracting. He must know this, but it's so distracting to look at him, and guys don't want to laugh at really weird moment on Deadpool where he said, let's do one more take.
The words for Ryan, seeing as the next time we talk to him, he will be seeing that.
I have nothing to say to him.
And this human being was being so insecure and angry because this person couldn't get the scenes out. And I think I was so vulnerable and uncomfortable that I got screamed at. And I would cry walking off set. This person would literally look at me in front of the whole crew and say, you call yourself an actor, this is what I have to work with. What is this? And I stood there just breaking. This happens. But because this person was number one on a call sheet, there was no safety net for me. So no one had my back. And I remember the next day I walked on and I said, you get off my set.
Every time you see Ryan Reynolds joking around in interviews, do you ever wonder if that's just a carefully crafted mask? My Hollywood sources say 5 major celebrities certainly think so. These aren't just creative differences. We're talking about industry-changing feuds that have shaped casting decisions for years. The text messages we obtained between Reynolds and one A-lister reveal a completely different person than his public persona.
And everyone was like, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then as the character, he was like horrifically mean to me. But to me, I think after he got super, super famous from the first Deadpool, then, yeah, things kind of changed. I think he was like, see, you guys see, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
that
again.
much, but you felt it coming from him.
Everybody did. That's why it was awkward. Everybody was like, why is Ryan doing this? And the other weird thing is like, maybe he got, I think he's kind of an insecure dude. He's really nice, but I mean, his Twitter bio is showing you the parts of me that tested the best in focus groups. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure that he's joking. I think that might actually be his real sentiment there.
We have an ongoing feud with Ryan.
Who?
You know that guy. What's it going to take for him to actually be BFFs with you?
Well, I mean, in truth, there was a time in which we were.
Have you ever noticed how Ryan Reynolds has never worked with one of Hollywood's biggest directors, despite their paths crossing countless times? It's not a coincidence. It's a deliberate choice that stems from one of Hollywood's most carefully concealed feuds, Christopher Nolan and Ryan Reynolds. 2 massive names in Hollywood who've never collaborated despite their overlapping circles. Reynolds has starred in blockbuster superhero films, action comedies, and dramatic roles, precisely the kind of versatile actor Nolan typically casts. Yet somehow, whenever a new Nolan project is announced, Reynolds' name is mysteriously absent from the casting lineup. The root of this Cold War traces back to a fateful appearance on The Tonight Show 5 years ago. What seemed like just another celebrity interview turned into a career-altering moment when Reynolds made what he thought was a harmless joke about Nolan's box office disappointment, Tenet, during the pandemic. But Reynolds didn't stop there. He connected the film's confusing timeline to Nolan's recent divorce, suggesting maybe that's why the director couldn't keep his own life straight either. While the audience laughed, the camera never caught Nolan's reaction backstage. According to a crew member who was present that night, Nolan was watching the monitor when Reynolds made the joke. His face just went completely stone cold. He put down his coffee, unplugged his mic, and walked straight out of the building without saying a word to anyone. The temperature in that room dropped 20 degrees in an instant. What the public never saw was the aftermath. Reynolds, upon learning of Nolan's reaction, launched into damage control mode. According to sources close to the actor, he sent a handwritten apology letter along with an expensive bottle of scotch to Nolan's office. Both were returned unopened. A second attempt with concert tickets met the same fate. The message was clear. The bridge wasn't just burned, it was obliterated. The smoking gun in this Hollywood standoff? A series of text messages from a production assistant who worked on Nolan's subsequent film, Oppenheimer. The texts reveal a shocking moment during early casting discussions when Nolan's name came up. Someone mentioned Reynolds might be good for Lewis Strauss, and Nolan just looked up and said, "I don't work with people who use personal pain for punchlines." Then told his casting director to make sure Reynolds was never on any list for any role. Ever. Both men have mastered the art of dodging questions about each other. When asked at the 2021 Directors Guild Awards if he would ever consider Reynolds for a future project, Nolan paused for a full 7 seconds before responding with a vague, "I cast based on what each individual project needs." Reynolds, meanwhile, deflected a similar question on the Deadpool 3 press tour with his signature humor. "Me and Chris? Well, I think we're both just waiting for the right project. Maybe in another timeline." A sly reference to the very film he had mocked. The professional impact has been substantial. Industry insiders confirm Reynolds was initially considered for a role in Oppenheimer that could have showcased his dramatic abilities and potentially put him in Oscar contention. Instead, the part went to Matt Damon, who received critical acclaim for his performance. Reynolds has also been notably absent from consideration for any of Nolan's upcoming projects, including his highly anticipated space thriller that's currently in pre-production.
Meanwhile, over the weekend, SNL did its 50th anniversary tribute, and there was one moment that seemed to stand out. That was a moment where Tina Fey and Amy Poehler called out Ryan Reynolds in the audience, and it was a little awkward.
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Joking about how you and your wife essentially tried to leverage by accusing him of sexual harassment is not amazing. It's not an amazing look. I think it's going to do serious career damage to Ryan Reynolds. And by the evidence, it probably should.
I was about 18 years old, and in the middle of the dinner once, I grabbed the camera and I went in the bathroom and I just took a picture of my penis.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to see if he would naturally edit these photos at some point. Nope. He
What? He sent it out?
Yeah. So I think there's one day, I hope it doesn't happen, but there's a penis picture of mine floating around somewhere.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
We found it.
While Nolan's rejection of Reynolds was shocking, it's nothing compared to the calculated blacklisting that's kept him out of Hollywood's most profitable franchise. Everyone assumed Reynolds was simply too busy with Deadpool to join the Marvel Cinematic Universe proper, but our investigation reveals something far more scandalous. Robert Downey Jr., the face of the MCU, made sure Reynolds would never suit up alongside the Avengers. On the surface, these two megastars maintain a cordial public relationship. They exchange the occasional light-hearted tweet, pose together at premieres, and speak respectfully of each other in interviews. But behind this carefully crafted facade lies a Cold War that has shaped Marvel's casting decisions for nearly a decade. 3 separate casting directors, speaking under condition of anonymity, confirmed that Reynolds was seriously considered for significant roles in the MCU, most notably for a cameo in Thor Ragnarok and a supporting role in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Each time, his name mysteriously vanished from consideration after reaching Downey's attention. "Robert exercises incredible power at Marvel," revealed one high-level executive. "He's built this franchise from the ground up, and while he doesn't have official veto power, when he strongly objects to someone, everyone listens. With Reynolds, it wasn't a suggestion, it was an ultimatum." The source of this animosity? A disastrous joint press tour in 2011 for Green Lantern and Iron Man 2, where Reynolds repeatedly interrupted Downey's interviews, hijacked questions directed at other cast members, and dominated panel discussions with his trademark humor. What audiences perceived as charming banter, Downey saw as professional sabotage. Robert was furious, a publicist who worked the tour told us. He felt Reynolds was using him as a stepping stone, trying to position himself as the funnier, more likable star at Robert's expense. After that tour, he told his team he would never share a set with Reynolds again. The evidence extends beyond insider testimonies. At the 2018 Golden Globes, photographers captured a telling moment. Despite being seated just 3 tables apart, Downey greeted and took photos with 16 different celebrities throughout the evening, including Reynolds' close friends Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal, but never once acknowledged Reynolds. Their social media interactions tell a similar story. When Reynolds tagged Downey in a playful post about superhero franchises in 2019, Downey, who typically responds to industry colleagues within hours, never acknowledged it, despite engaging with posts from Chris Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo that same day. Perhaps most revealing is Downey's meticulous control over who enters his professional circle. Robert cultivates this image of being laid back and easygoing, explains a longtime Marvel producer, but he's incredibly calculated about who he works with. He maintains extensive approval rights in his contracts and has quietly blocked several actors from major MCU roles over the years. Reynolds isn't the only one, but he's definitely the most high-profile casualty. What makes this feud particularly intriguing is that Reynolds seems oblivious to the blacklisting. In a 2020 interview with Empire magazine, he explicitly stated he would jump at the chance to bring Deadpool into the wider Marvel universe, and has made numerous comments about wanting to work with various Avengers actors. Each time, Marvel executives have deflected with vague statements about timing and creative direction. The irony? Reynolds' self-centered behavior during that press tour, the very quality that alienated Downey, is precisely what makes his Deadpool character so beloved by fans. His lightning-quick wit and tendency to command attention became the foundation for the franchise that cemented his A-list status.
Blake and my girls, you are quite literally, you're my heart, you're my hope, you're my happy.
He was like, why is Ryan doing this? And the other weird thing is like, maybe he got, I think he's kind of an insecure dude. He's really nice, but I think after he got super, super famous from the first Deadpool, then things kind of changed. I think he was like, see, you guys see. And then I think I don't know. I mean, would I work with him again? No.
No.
I would not work with him
that
again.
much vitriol.
But I've said that about Michael Bay, and now we're friends, and I would work with him again. But I think Michael Bay is different. And Michael Bay worked on a movie with Ryan Reynolds also. And so he has a very specific opinion.
That may mirror
of
your
Ryan
own.
Reynolds. And that was a good part of our last conversation with me and Bay. But I sort of wish him well because he's so good at Deadpool. And
That trademark Reynolds wit may spark laughter in theaters worldwide, but behind closed doors, it severed one of his most genuine Hollywood friendships. Few fans realize that Ryan Reynolds and Jake Gyllenhaal were once practically inseparable. Their bromance blossomed on the set of the 2017 sci-fi thriller Life, where crew members frequently complained about delays caused by their non-stop laughter between takes. The friendship wasn't just for the cameras. Before their falling out, Reynolds and Gyllenhaal appeared in over 30 Instagram posts together. They vacationed at Reynolds' Canadian cottage, attended each other's movie premieres uninvited, and Gyllenhaal was even spotted at intimate family gatherings with Reynolds' wife Blake Lively. Their connection seemed unbreakable. They had this genuine chemistry that's rare in Hollywood, shared Maria Collins, a makeup artist who worked with both actors. Jake was one of the few people who could match Ryan's energy and wit. They'd finish each other's sentences and had all these inside jokes that nobody else understood. But everything changed abruptly in late 2018. The catalyst? Gyllenhaal's painful split from model Jean Cadieux after a particularly public relationship that had played out on social media. While Gyllenhaal retreated from the spotlight to process his heartbreak privately, Reynolds apparently saw comedic potential in his friend's pain. During a January 2019 appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Reynolds launched into an extended bit about a friend's recent breakup, without naming Gyllenhaal directly. However, the details he shared, including private conversations about the relationship's troubles, made it painfully obvious who he was discussing. The audience laughed, but those close to Gyllenhaal were horrified. Jake was blindsided, revealed a production assistant who worked with Gyllenhaal weeks after the incident. He was in the makeup chair when someone showed him the clip. His face just emptied. He walked off set and didn't return for hours. The betrayal cut especially deep because Reynolds had reportedly called Gyllenhaal just days earlier to check on him, appearing supportive during what Gyllenhaal later described to friends as the darkest period of my adult life. The fallout was swift and absolute. Gyllenhaal not only stopped responding to Reynolds' attempts at reconciliation, but systematically erased their friendship from his digital footprint. A social media expert we consulted confirmed that Gyllenhaal untagged himself from at least 28 photos with Reynolds between February and March 2019. It wasn't impulsive, notes celebrity friendship expert Kelly Warren. This was a deliberate, methodical removal of Reynolds from his life. That kind of thorough digital cleansing suggests profound hurt. When offered the lead in the 2021 action comedy Free Guy opposite Reynolds, Gyllenhaal reportedly declined without even reading the script. His team simply responded, "Jake is unavailable for this project." He later turned down a cameo in The Adam Project for similar reasons, despite having previously expressed interest in working with director Sean Levy. Perhaps most telling is the clause Gyllenhaal's publicity team now includes in all interview contracts. No questions about Ryan Reynolds, his projects, or their previous relationship. When one journalist accidentally mentioned Reynolds during a 2022 press junket, Gyllenhaal reportedly stood up, removed his microphone, and left the room without a word. Reynolds, meanwhile, seems oblivious to the depth of damage he caused. As recently as last year, he referenced his hibernating friendship with Gyllenhaal during a podcast interview, suggesting they merely drifted apart due to busy schedules, a characterization that sources close to Gyllenhaal describe as delusional. So what's the pattern here? Behind that charming smile and quick wit, Ryan Reynolds has left a trail of broken relationships across Hollywood. His tendency to turn personal pain into punchlines isn't just harmless fun, it's cost him major career opportunities and valuable friendships. From being blacklisted by one of film's greatest directors, to being systematically excluded from billion-dollar franchises, Reynolds' behavior reveals a darker side to his public persona. The celebrities who've banned him from their projects aren't just being difficult. They're protecting themselves from someone who's repeatedly shown he'll sacrifice others for a laugh. Next week, we're revealing the 6th celebrity who just walked away from $20 million rather than share a set with Reynolds. This A-lister's reason for avoiding him might be the most shocking yet. Hit subscribe now. You don't want to miss the truth about Hollywood's nice guy.